What's up, my royal chosen kingdom family? So, you know, I was doing some heavy meditating this morning, and, God's been putting things on my spirit because, I've been in a season where I feel like, let me think of the right word, where I feel like the results that I want aren't coming fast enough, right? And God's telling me that many of his chosen people feel the same way, you know? And when he hit me with this epiphany this morning, it was that's your issue, is that you think it's on your timing, that it's not coming fast enough for you. And God gave me a reminder that his timing is perfect. His timing is always better than our timing. And if you feel like you've been doing everything right, if you feel like, you've cut off so many things in life and you've been making so many strides and steps to gain your blessing, but you haven't got that yet. You haven't got that outcome that you're looking for. And it's made you become weary. It's made you lose belief. Then what you have to understand is that's the test. That's the test, family. And I realized that this morning about myself, because I realized when you got to truly hold yourself accountable, and you got to truly think about who you are as a person and who you have always been as a person in your spirit, in your heart, right? Because you can't hide that from God. You can't hide who you are in your spirit, in your mind, in your soul. You know what I'm saying? And the more that I thought about it, the more I realized, and it just made me smile, even though I was thinking these things. It made me smile because I came to the realization of God's working on my patience. Because, that's one thing that I've always struggled with, is patience. That's one thing about me, is I feel like, when I put in a certain amount of effort, when I put in a certain amount of work, and I see myself doing things that the other people around me aren't willing to do, when I see myself working out while others are staying stagnant, when I see myself eating a healthy diet, when I see myself putting in the hours that others aren't willing to work, making the sacrifices that others aren't willing to work, while other people are having fun and I'm focused on a goal, and I feel like I'm having FOMO, fear of missing out. I feel like I did all these things and that it should be paying off for me by now. See, and the thing is God sees deeper than we see. It is paying off. It had us already paid off. You just live with yourself every day, so you don't see the full results that God sees, and you don't see the end result that God sees. See, his plans are greater than your plans. But what you have to understand, what we have to understand, because I'm in this journey with y'all. I struggle as well. We all struggle. We're all imperfect, right? And what we have to be able to see is that since we live with ourselves every day, we don't see the growth as much as God sees the growth, as much as strangers see the growth. It's like looking at yourself in the mirror every day. These slow changes accumulate over time, and you might not notice them. But then if you see somebody that you haven't seen in years, they're going to be like, man, you've changed so much. You look so healthy. You look so much different. And it's because they notice the growth because they are on the outside looking in. You know? And what you have to understand is you have to give yourself grace, and you have to be grateful for where you're at. You have to think about where you was 3 years ago, where you was 1 year ago, where you was 5 years ago. And you have to think of the leaps and bounds that you have made since then, and truly be proud of yourself. And understand that just because the goals that you want haven't manifested in the physical, in your eyes, doesn't mean that they haven't already manifested in the spiritual. Because all the things that you have been working towards, the goals that you have been trying to hit, first have to manifest here in your heart and your spirit. Your heart and your spirit and your soul and your mind have to be the person that can hold on to that blessing first. So if you have a big goal, if you have a big vision for yourself, understand that it's going to take more sacrifice than the rest. It's going to take more building of your spirit, of your character, of your patience. You know, you have to really learn patience in this season, and I have to as well. I have to understand that God knows where I'm at in my spirit, in my heart, in my mind. He knows where He wants to take me. He knows the places I'm weak at. He knows the places I'm strong at. And He's going to continue to build those things and mold those things until I become the person that can hold on to what He has for me. And I have to learn to be patient, not only with God, but with myself. You know, it's small tweaks, small little things that we have to see that could be holding us back. And you might not even be held back. Right? It might just feel like you're held back. It might just feel like you're stagnant. But it's just because you have a certain goal in mind, and all you're focused on is that goal. All you're focused on is that place that you want to be at. But understand that God always works in the spirit first. And that's one thing that I've realized on this journey is all the money in the world, all the materialistic things in the world, if I had lost my mind and my spirit, it would mean nothing. It would mean nothing. And I learned that from when I was in the streets, right? When I was hustling, when I was thinking I was a boss, when I was, doing unrighteous things out here to make money, when I was in survival mode, because of the lifestyle I came from, because of the things that I was used to. I was raised around the savage mode, the hustler mentality. So I was thinking I was a boss, right? And that's in the streets. In the streets, you may be a boss. You might get claps in the streets, but guess what? When all those things get taken away from you, none of those claps are going to turn to helping hands. The only person that's going to be there when you lose it all is God and the people that God is trying to keep in your life. He's going to show you the true character of the people around you. And that's why it is important that we hit these hard times. Hard times build tough people. And not only do hard times build tough people, but they show God's chosen people, God's righteous people, God's people with a good heart, soul, spirit. It shows them the people that aren't meant for us. Because we become comfortable and stagnant with the people that are in our life, and we don't see that certain people, places, and things are hindering us. So if you're blind to it, God's going to expose it to where you can't miss it. Whew. I can feel that one in my spirit, y'all. There was times where I was heartbroken at the things that got taken away from me. And then after the incremental growth that God gave me, I looked back on it and I was like, that was never good for me. See, and that's the problem, is the world programs us to be addicted to instant gratification. And that's why it's always been stripped away from us so fast. Because anything that comes quick, anything that comes easy isn't worth it. It's not going to last. And that's why God works on our heart and our spirit and our mind and our soul first. Because if you can get right here, that can last a lifetime. You can't unsee righteousness. You can't unsee peace. You can't unsee those things in the spirit. Once your spirit and your heart and your mind is transformed, none of the things around you can change that. You understand what it's like to feel like you have nothing in the physical, but everything in the spiritual. And that's a true man or woman of riches, of riches. If you're rich in the mind, body, and spirit, it doesn't matter what happens in the physical. You realize that you don't need anything but peace. You don't need anything but love for yourself. You see, all the things that we pray for, all the things that we really want in our life. Maybe you have a certain house that you want, a certain car that you want, a certain person that you want, a certain love that you want. Understand that all those things that you want are a spiritual outcome. And yes, there is people that are doing unrighteous things that have nice materialistic things. But guess what? Most of the time, if not all of the time, they are broken in the spirit. They are empty in the spirit. Think of all the rappers in the world who had all these fancy cars and fancy jewelry and fancy clothes and fancy this and fancy that. And then they ended up dying. They ended up shot. They ended up overdosing. Think about that. And it's because when you're not healthy in the heart, mind, and spirit, it will show up in the physical. So these things that happen to people is a direct reflection of who that person is in the spirit, in the heart, in the mind, in the soul. So we have to truly understand to practice patience in this season and understand that exactly where you are right now is exactly where you're supposed to be, family. You're doing great. You're doing way better than you think you are. It's just sometimes we forget that because maybe we feel alone, or maybe we feel pressure, or maybe we feel like the work that we are putting in is not showing in the physical. But it will. It will. It's happening in the spirit. It's happening in the heart. It's happening in the mind. And it's beginning to seep out into the physical. And the moment that you can understand that it is more important for your spiritual abundance, for your internal abundance, is the shift that you're waiting for, is the shift that we are all waiting for. And God is really putting that on my spirit, because I'm human. We're all human. And we can forget that. We can forget that in this world. This world can distract us from the truth. And that's what they want to do. Why do you think they plant so many distractions? Why do you think they keep showing all these things, all this drama, all this craziness in the world that they keep showing? It's not what it looks like. It's all to form a distraction. And it's because it's to block your spirit. It's to make you focus on the drama instead of focusing on the growth, instead of focusing on the spirit. Because if they can get an emotional response out of you, it can block what you're working on. It can trigger your spirit. You know, and I just wanted to drop this message on you today because I feel like someone's in this same position as me. And that God just wants us to know that you're doing way better than you think you are. And give yourself grace. We will all fall short in some way of the glory. Just give yourself grace and understand how far you've come. Be thankful, be grateful, and make that shift in your heart, in your mind, in your spirit, and understand, I have all I need. I have all I need. And although I want a certain income, I want a certain woman in my life where I've been praying hard, like, God, just send me a woman with a spirit that loves you, that loves God, that understands what it's like to go through the struggle and make it out of the fire. Someone that will appreciate me. Someone that can be happy in the smaller things of life. Because to me, the smaller things a lot of times will bring you more fulfillment than the larger things. Those small moments that you have with people where you're just hanging out and talking and going on a drive, you know, and you're at peace and you realize that you're grateful for where you're at. You're looking around at the beautiful weather that God is providing. You got the windows down and the wind's blowing on your face, and you're with somebody who appreciates you. You're with somebody who loves you. You're with somebody who respects you. You know, and a lot of times people can look over that because the world distracts us with these larger things, these things that we consider larger. But if they were larger, then why do these, like I said, all these rappers, all these elites, people that you would call elites, why are they so broken? Why are they so lost when it looks like in the physical they have everything that we want? And that's what God wants to show you, is when you have love and you have peace in the spirit, He's going to give you everlasting things that will show up in the physical. So never forget that, family. I love y'all. Stay focused, stay positive, stay blessed. And, you know, just always be grateful for where you're at and understand that even if it doesn't look like you're where you want to be, God's got you right where He wants you. Salute, family.